And are you refreshed?
Yes.
Good. Now what?
Thank you for this opportunity. In the last session that we had here, you mentioned some things that I want to get clarity on, and they were the fact that you could do things to align yourself with the financial markets and doing things to actually control the weather. And that seems like a real stretch for me to believe that you can play a part in or control or affect those realities.
The important thing to understand is that creation is always co-creation. Let's call it rendezvousing. So when you think about the part you play in the rendezvousing with something, then it's easier for you to understand what we are meaning by that. When you take subjects as vast as the weather or as financial markets, and you realize all of the ups and downs, the twists and turns that are in them, and then you decide that you will position yourself within them to your greatest advantage, it's not like controlling what they are, it's like controlling your relationship with them.
Okay.
And that's much easier for you to understand, isn't it?
Yes. Being in tune with or in touch with what those cycles are.
Let's not even call them cycles. Let's just call them states of being, because they don't cycle in any sort of pattern that anyone can really understand. There are general patterns, but there are a lot of variances, and it's in the variances that your true creating shines. Everyone understood precisely what the market was doing. Mm-hmm. It'd be a different experience for everyone who's playing in the market, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we think that it would be good to recognize that and to hold that thought and understand that that thought holds true in regards to co-creating with everyone and everything. That your role is just your movement within. And one of the things that made you so excited about coming into this physical experience at this time, from your broader non-physical perspective, you understood that because there were so many moving parts and so many variables, you knew that it would make your co-creative experience even more delightful, because there are more choices for you now than ever before. Does that clear it up for you?
Some. I'm still searching, I guess, for, other than being as aligned as I can and in tune with guidance, inspiration as to what to do. But that still implies that I still pursue as much information or knowledge to sift through, or because I'm inundated almost with information and knowledge.
Your sifting through can get easier and easier as you are more in tune with who you really are, because you have so many well-positioned intelligences assisting you. Your impulse to move around in your climate or in the variety of your world can be inspired from that broader understanding. Life can be very detailed. We talked a lot about this, the difference between making things happen and feeling the inspiration, the difference between being determined and motivating yourself and feeling inspired. So it's the broader point of view. Our favorite story, Jerry and Esther were in San Antonio. They were on their property outside of San Antonio, and a rainstorm happening, big one. And they went into the post office in the little town that is near them, where their post office box is. And the post office was surrounded by water. They couldn't even get into their box. And so they learned that it was the Cibolo Creek that was overflowing its banks because of the rain. And Jerry said, Pat and Lawrence, our friends in San Antonio, that Cibolo Creek goes right through their property. They have 1,000 acres with cattle and farm equipment. Let's call them and let them know what's happening up here. Not that far up here, but it was upstream from where they were. So they called and said, the Cibolo's outside of its banks, and as you know, headed your way. and they were able to move the cattle and the tractors out of the field that was next to the creek that was overflowing its banks. And they called them later and said, nice to have a friend upstream. And that's the way we want you to look at this. It's nice to have a friend upstream, with broader view, who you have tuned yourself to sense. So once you make the statement of what you want, we would like it to become a foregone conclusion to you that once you've made the statement, which means you have brought yourself into conscious awareness with your own desire. Now hear that. We said that in a specific way just so that you would hear it, because you've been putting things into your vortex incrementally, piece by piece by piece by piece, for quite a long time. So such a period of time that oftentimes you don't even recognize your own desires, because you've been putting there a piece at a time, a piece at a time, a piece at a time. So the more you become consciously realizing what your desires are, and the more tuned you become to this higher frequency, then the more likely you are to recognize an impulse that is offered from broader non-physical perspective. There are so many impulses. We are impulsing you all day long, because you know what you want, or at least your vortex knows. At least you've said what you want incrementally. We're keenly aware of that and giving you the impulses, but often you are oblivious to your own impulses. You'd rather sift through piles of data and try to make logical conclusions when you look at the possibilities of what you can consider. Esther marvels at the children she knows and their ability to cope with the data of their day. You are inundated with pieces of information. It is becoming increasingly important for you to relax into that greater consciousness in order to find your way in this fast-moving, multifaceted, diverse, so many moving parts world that you are all participating in now. So it's nice to know that with the expansion of the world, your capacity to experience it is expanding also. And those who are keeping up are having a joyous experience. Those who aren't are longing for the good old days, when things were moving slower, the way they want to move. But none of you really mean that. You are happiest on the leading edge. You are. Leading, that's leading, not leading. Leading edge.
To expand upon your example of the creek, that I would say that being inspired to be in the right place at the right time is better than the concept of trying to control things.
Yeah. Thinking about your flexible rendezvousing with what you want.
Yes.
You have taken the most important essence of what our response to you is and reflected it back just now, because it is about moving yourself, not about controlling others. It is about positioning yourself, not about controlling anything. Yeah. It's about your control within the framework of all of that. Your control of you. Yeah. Really good.
Thank you.
Yes.